Prepare to experience the strongest radio allowable by law. Secrets will be revealed. Myths dispelled. From the studio gym where excuses never apply, it's Superhuman Radio with your host, Carl Lenore.
Welcome back to another episode of Superhuman Radio. And good morning to you, or good afternoon. RM Rate, thank you for being here live on Facebook and YouTube. For those of you who want to watch the show live, I know most of you consume the show after it airs via the podcast or watching the video. Glad you're here. Today is Tuesday. We have a BluePrint Power Hour today with Coach Rob Regish in just a moment. We also are going to be talking about Delta 8 CBD. If you've tried CBD and noticed nothing from it, get ready, because Delta 8 is the real thing. And we'll talk about the science behind it a little bit later in the show. Of course, before we get started, we have to thank our title sponsor, the wonderful company, the benevolent company. You know, I was just out at Legendary Foods. And Legendary Foods is carrying on something that started at Quest Nutrition by Ron Penna, and that is he is investing millions of his own dollars into cancer research. Let's just say that. And very soon, within months probably, definitely by the first quarter of next year, we'll be able to start talking about it. I got a glimpse of it when I was there. And I will say, unabashedly, that what Ron Penna has discovered is going to change the face of cancer. And a lot of people won't believe that because, you know, we have billions of dollars being sunk into cancer research, and it's all the genetic cancer approach, the genetic causes for cancer, which we know are misguided from Dr. Thomas Seyfried's work. All I can tell you is that a food company is probably going to make one of the greatest contributions to cancer research that's ever been made. And I say that, understanding the landscape. It's very, very exciting. So first we have to thank our title sponsor, the benevolent, the wonderful Legendary Foods. They make a product called the Tasty Pastry. So if you've bought Tasty Pastries in the past, you have to buy them again if you haven't bought them, if you haven't reordered, because they are better than ever. I stand to be corrected, but they're in like their 1,000th iteration. They keep refining the product, making it taste better, making it smell better. I mean, everything you could imagine. It's an evolving process. And I got a chance to taste the new Tasty Pastries. And they are absolutely, if you liked them before, you're going to love them even more. That's all I can tell you. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary. Use the code SHR10 to save 10% off, or listen during the commercial break. And when you hear the secret word, simply type it down into an email along with your mailing address and email it to onair@superhumanradio.net. And I am glad that some of you didn't get your Tasty Pastries yet, because the ones you will get will be the brand new ones that are out of this world. I just can't believe you really feel like you're eating a cake product. It's not like, oh, it's close enough that I'll eat it because it's good for you. You'll eat these because they taste amazing, and whether or not they're good for you will not even fold into the equation. I'm telling you, this tasty pastry is amazing. Okay, without further delay, let's bring my guest on and play his theme music. There we go.
Calling all Blueprint Army. Fall in line. It's time for the Blueprint Power Hour with Coach Rob Regish on the Superhuman Radio Network.
Hey, Rob.
Hey, how are you? Welcome back.
I am. I'm a very fortunate person. My life is wonderful. Natalie, I love the yellow stripe title bar, whatever you want to call it. I like that a lot. I like that touch. Very, very nice. Natalie's amazing. She's always working in the background. You know, things just change and you go, oh, gee, that's really nice. And, you know, I don't ask her to do anything. It's all her, the way the show looks and the imagery.
It's almost every week too.
Yeah, she keeps it fresh. She knows. She's an artist, an amazing artist. I mean, paint and canvas and stuff like that. And so she has a good feel of what looks good and what works together, and you know, it comes through in her work here on the show as well. So thank you, Natalie. Anyway, so I heard that it's not raining in Massachusetts. Could that be true?
Finally, after 2 to 3 weeks. But I'll tell you what, though, it's real green around here. It's hot, but you know, it's summer, and I'll take that any day over shoveling snow. So yeah, it has stopped raining, and I'm just trying to enjoy what's left of the summer.
Yeah, but it's got to be humid as hell, right? Did you say that it's humid as hell or no?
Yeah. You know, the humidity up here in the Northeast is, you just gotta, you know, take it along with the heat.
It's not, when people talk about stifling humidity, what they really are talking about is what happens in the Northeast. So Florida is humid, but Florida is tropical. But in the Northeast, when it gets humid and hot, it just lays on you. It feels like a weight on your body that you just don't want to do anything. You don't want to move. It's just horrible, isn't it?
Yeah. The only other place I've been that I considered worse, and it wasn't humidity, it was just the extremely high temperatures, were Phoenix, Arizona. Man, I got up one morning and I went for a little workout, you know, in my hotel, and it was 6 a.m. It was still dark out, and it was like 96 degrees. It was crazy. Sun hadn't even come up yet. So I think they were running at like 110, 112 then.
That's not uncommon. July and August in Phoenix and Las Vegas, and it's in the hundreds.
Yeah.
And I love that, but that's dry heat. And people go, oh, dry heat. No, it is. When it's hot, and okay, I can sit in a 180 degree dry sauna. You'll never be able to sit in a 180 degree steam room.
Right. You couldn't breathe.
No, because the humidity transfers the heat directly to your skin faster than when it's dry.
Right.
So, anyway, our first question comes from Kevin Nashu. He says, hi, Coach, new listener and love the show. I've been reading a lot about quercetin lately, but it's confusing. Is it worth using?
Yeah, you know, it's an interesting story, and it's still evolving, for my money anyway. But quercetin is technically a flavonoid. It's a broad class of compounds with many benefits, just like, say, ecdysterone. It is an interesting supplement, even more so now to me that I'm older. And again, I think we've only begun to scratch the surface of it. 10 to 15 years ago, the mantra on quercetin, at least in the sports nutrition field, was, this stuff by itself isn't of much value due to poor absorption, but that paradoxically, it could improve the absorption of other nutrients and supplements that were included along with it. It pairs particularly well, in my opinion, with zinc. About 400 to 500 milligrams of quercetin to 10 to 20 of zinc, let's say, and there's a fair body of research out there, which has shown multiple other benefits to quercetin, even when taken solo. So it's known in these studies, and a lot of them, to be an antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, have anti-cancer activity, fights allergies, antiviral, the whole nine yards. The one big caveat is that most of those findings were seen in test tube or animal studies. It doesn't necessarily invalidate them, but they're not, let's say, the gold standard human studies. One of the big exceptions to that rule, though, was a 2007 human study that was conducted at the behest and the funding of DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Project Agency. These folks do a lot of really interesting work on behalf, usually, of the Department of Defense. But if you remember, DARPA was also the federal agency that commissioned Patrick Arnold to create exogenous ketones for its soldiers. So, you may remember them from there. But in any case, what they did in this study was they divided 40 healthy subjects into two groups. And over 21 days, one of the groups got 1,000 milligrams of quercetin a day. And then while that supplementation period continued, the subjects cycled for 3 hours very intensely every day for 3 days. Something that, scientists know usually knocks down immunity. After those 3 days, the subjects continued to take the quercetin for several weeks, and they monitored them to see whether or not they became ill. The other group did the same thing, same cycling protocol, kept taking the placebo pill, and here were the results. So 3 weeks of quercetin at 1,000 milligrams a day, compared with placebo ingestion in these cyclists, led to quote unquote marked differences in rates of illness during the 2-week period after the intense cycling. And they went on to say that these data support in vitro observations that quercetin supplements may reduce illness rates among athletes after periods of heavy training. One other interesting thing of note, and it may be pertinent, especially right today in the world we live in several other studies that I saw, quercetin appears to accumulate and have benefit in the lungs. And so not coincidentally, you will also find studies in the literature in which quercetin sabotages things like herpes, adenoviruses, and yes, even coronaviruses. Here's the bottom line. I think quercetin is certainly a worthwhile supplement. Although we're still working out, how much, what's the best form of it? There are multiple, how much to take, etc. For now, I would be using 1,000 milligrams a day of it with zinc, either picolinate or aspirate or some highly absorbable form. I think that given what we know today, right now, that's the best bet insofar as tapping into at least quercetin's unique antiviral properties and hopefully providing you protection and benefits elsewhere.
I'm becoming more and more a believer that when someone asks a question about diet or supplementation, the next question posed to them should be, well, what are your goals? So quercetin will bind to IGF-1, deactivate it. One of the reasons that it's really popular within the anti-aging community is Bill Sardi, a formulator and science writer who you don't hear about him much anymore. He used to be on my show back in 2008, around there. He came out with a resveratrol product when resveratrol first became popular, and it pairs well with quercetin. Resveratrol and quercetin seem to have a push-pull effect on CAMP, right? Was it CAMP, and then mTOR, and so they kind of work together. The problem with quercetin, in my humble opinion, is that while it may provide antiviral effects, if that's all you care about, then take it. But if you're the average person who's training and wants to maintain muscle, and remember, IGF-1 helps insulin. When you have adequate IGF-1, the pancreas gets a break because IGF-1 acts like insulin. And suppressing IGF-1 is not a good idea. And I understand that people, well, it's anti-cancer. Yeah. And so is suppressing oxygen. So just hold your breath for 6 weeks and your cancer will go away. You have to look at your goals. If your goals are exclusively antiviral, or for some reason you want to suppress IGF-1, I'd say quercetin is your friend. But if you're training and you also want the benefits of an antiviral, I think there are better ones that don't suppress IGF-1, in my humble opinion. It's just my opinion. And again, my opinion is no different than your opinion. So you should do what you want. But always ask yourself this question. Before you ask someone else a question about diet or supplements, be specific about your goals. I'm a bodybuilder. I'm a frail old person. I don't really exercise, and I'm just worried about viruses. Because without these prologues, if you will, to the discussion, it's hard to make recommendations today. It's hard to say, yeah, you should eat this way, or you should do this, or you should supplement with that, because not everything works for every reason. No, it's just a thought. Just a thought.
No, it's good. That's great information. I never looked at quercetin as a sports nutrition product, but
Right.
but that's good to know. I didn't know that it bound to IGF-1. That's great.
Tommy D. I grew up with Tommy D. I'm glad you're here. Okay, the next question comes from Michael Egan, I think it is. Yes. He said, I read your first book about ectosterone performing some functions of vitamin D. I found that really interesting, but what does that mean if I'm already taking both? Should I take both?
Yeah, he's got a good question. And so for those unfamiliar, way back in 2009, I wrote a book called The BluePrint. And it started out as an ectosterone optimal use protocol. Ectosterone was enjoying a renaissance back then. New products were hitting the market. So I wanted to help people, right? Get the most out of them. And in the process, though, of writing that book, I learned a lot of interesting stuff about both ectosterone as well as vitamin D. So it would be accurate to say that ecti has some of the benefits of D. In some cases, even greater benefits. So just as one example, there was a study published in 1997 looking at vitamin D3 and ecti, both being looked at for their effect on free radical-induced lipid peroxidation. Although both of them, ecti and D, displayed antioxidant function, ecti was found to be the better and stronger of the two, which gets back to, on a little side note, anytime I ever discuss cholesterol on this show, I've said it before, it's not your total cholesterol being high or even bad cholesterol. It's oxidized cholesterol that'll kill you. And so here we have two things, in my opinion, that help. And the way ecti goes about that is certain ectosterones have quite a few hydroxyl groups. And so that accounts for its anti-free radical effects. And at least in this instance, it seems superior to vitamin D. If you want to go further and look at what I'm talking about, you can go to ectibase.org and take a look at the molecular structures of both integrasterone A and B, tons of hydroxyl groups. Those two ectosterones, by the way, are present in Raponticum carthamoids, but not, for example, in turkesterone, right? Cyanotus vaga or Cyanotus arachnoida, which is, where a lot of ecti products are sourced from these days. So now you know why I'm so big on getting full spectrum Raponticum, and that's just one example. So we get back to his question, though. What does this mean if you're taking both? In my opinion, it means you should be using both because there are benefits to both. I would much rather, for example, take 5,000 IU of vitamin D a day, plus some magnesium, and a gram of Raponticum, and look at my blood levels and see, hopefully I'm high enough on the D, versus just going higher and higher on the D. Why? Well, one of the reasons is you take too much vitamin D, it displaces calcium, which is useful for things like regulating heart rhythm. So, heart palpitations will follow. And I learned that one the hard way. So, that's what I would do in that instance, taking both. Here's what else I would tell you about Ecti, though, some of which is supported by the studies and some of which is still speculation on my part. So number one, I think it has the ability to stand in, so to speak, for estrogen, or at the very least, affect many of the same functions through binding to the estrogen beta receptor. We know that's at least one of the mechanisms now. Multiple studies have looked at it and found the same thing. There's activity at that receptor. I'd also tell you that Ecti has a curious relationship with magnesium, likely given the fact that both positively affect so many bodily functions. Like vitamin D, I think it's the perfect complement, let's say, to the more bioavailable forms of magnesium, citrate, aspartate, picolinate. Ditto for orotic acid. Ecti and orotic acid are highly complementary, at least insofar as ATP regeneration. Okay. It's worth noting that as recently as a few years ago, most scientists were of the opinion that this Ecti stuff had no biological activity in humans. None. Zip, zero, is all in your head. And
they said the same thing about D-Bowl.
Yeah, right. And now, of course, they're being forced to admit otherwise because of the sheer volume of science that speaks to it. So, for the coup de grace, I'll leave you with this. It's what I stated over a decade ago, and I stand by it. When the final chapter is written on Ecti, before it's all over, it's going to prove to have as many benefits to human beings as fish oil. Big statement, people probably rolling their eyes, but if it doesn't happen in my lifetime, it won't be long thereafter. It's an amazing compound, and so is vitamin D.
Katrina Miller says her husband gets sand, like I'm sure it's calcium, in his urine if he takes any vitamin D. She says any, so I'm assuming that adjusting the dose doesn't matter. Any ideas how to raise his D? Yes. Get outside without a shirt on. Get outside without a shirt. I mean, we you know what the funny thing is about vitamin D? We forget that the amount of vitamin D we received through our diet, through evolution, was minuscule. We always got our vitamin D from the sun. And it doesn't have to be blazing sun. It just has to be daytime. It could be clouds. It could be cloud cover. But get out there without a shirt on. Spend a half hour, at least a half hour at a time out there, and your body will make all the vitamin D you need.
Yeah, the only other thing I'd add to that is jog my memory on Primal D, right?
Yeah, I don't have the time to even look at it right now.
I know, but
Primal D would have been perfect for him. He would have sprayed it on,
yeah,
and he would have had no.
Right.
Yeah, sadly, but yeah, just get him. And now, Katrina, you can reply, and we'll work into it. Maybe you live in a part of the country where the sun doesn't shine, but it's still daylight. But still, if that's not a practical solution, let us know, and we'll talk about something else.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see here. We have 9 minutes before the break, so let's get to another question here. This one says, Adesh Farah says, I'm looking for a good joint formula product. Can you suggest a couple? I'd rather use an all-in-one product, by the way, as I have enough bottles on my countertop as it is these days. Yeah, I agree with that.
I'm right there with you. But anyway, to get down to brass tacks. So if you've got joint issues, I'm fond of a couple formulas, but the top two are GLC 2000 and GLC's Actistatin Pro.
That's it.
Both of them provide generous amounts of glucosamine, at least 4 different forms, chondroitin, and at least in Actistatin's case, there's
hyaluronic acid,
right?
MSM,
collagen, type 2 collagen. Yeah. So, quite a bit more. Actistatin, in fact, is one of those very rare cases where you look at the label and you think to yourself, oh, you know what? Okay, I've seen all these ingredients before, but it works like nothing else on the market. And so I've heard people say the same thing about Synthogen, right? So just like that, they probably know something most people don't, and it has likely to do with the interplay of the ingredients in that formula. So, how they combine and work better than, let's say, the individual parts. It's a real phenomenon, but it's exceedingly rare, but I think it's there at least for Actistatin. And the product has been around for a long time, right? You don't see massive ad campaigns for it. They don't need to. They have a bunch of people who have used it and know how good it is. And the formula is still largely unchanged from when it came out.
Yeah, it's got 6 patents. So here's an interesting fact that should convince you that GLC 2000 and Actistatin are your sole go-to joint formulas in America today. Animals don't respond to placebo. They don't. One of the largest consumers of the GLC product line, GLC 2000 and Actistatin, they buy it by big, 5-gallon pails, plastic tubs, no capsules, and they just scoop it into horse feed. The thoroughbred racehorse industry uses GLC's product exclusively for horses worth millions of dollars. Why? Well, again, horses don't respond to placebo. It's not like you put something in your horse's bowl and he goes, oh, they put something new in here. I think I feel good. No, the veterinarians notice, oh my God, there's less fluid in his knee, there's less heat on the knee. He's walking better. He was, looked a little lame before. So it's an amazing product. Robert Thompson is always at Tractor Supply. He says the joint formula, $20 a kilo, works for me, and that's great. That's great. But however, this is being given to thoroughbred racehorses, not to bovine that are going to be slaughtered eventually. So, I mean, my money is on Actistatin and GLC 2000, and they're not a sponsor. They were sponsors years and years and years ago. So I'm not saying this because they're my sponsor and I'm just trying to kowtow to them. They make the single best joint formula in the world, period. End of story. It's got 6 patents. It's used by thoroughbred racehorses worldwide. There's something to that. Katrina Miller said they lived in California, but now in Delaware. In Delaware, it's not as sunny as it was in California. But I would still say to you, get out during the daytime. If it's not first thing in the morning in the sun or in the afternoon, then in the evening, as long as there's daylight out, take your shirt off, sit out there in shorts, have your husband do that. That's the single best way to raise vitamin D levels naturally without the potential unwanted effects of supplements. Lots of people get unwanted effects from supplementing with vitamin D. So your husband's not alone. Okay, next question. Let's see here. We're 4 minutes in. Let's go ahead and take our break now.
Okay.
We'll take our break now, and then we'll come back with the next questions. And please post your questions if you want them answered. We will work them into the show. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with more of the Blueprint Power Hour. Every day, there's a new wellness trend. Eat that. Do this, avoid those. How do you know where to start or who to trust? Inside Tracker helps you cut through the noise by analyzing your blood, your DNA, your lifestyle, and your fitness tracker to provide you with a science-backed trackable action plan on how to live, age, and perform better. Personalized one-size-fits-one recommendations to help you optimize you. For a limited time, Inside Tracker is offering Superhuman Radio listeners 25% off the entire store. Go to shrnetwork.biz/inside tracker, INSIDETRACKER, to save 25% off. Change begins on the inside. Attention meat lovers. I've discovered a snack with just 2 ingredients, meat and salt. That is so tender and delicious, you almost can't believe it. That's right, no soy, sugar, or other crap. Our partner, Carnivore Snacks, nailed it with these mouth-watering snacks. They have a variety too: ribeye, pork loin, leg of lamb, and more, all sourced here in the USA from regenerative farms. Claim your superhuman offer from Carnivore Snacks today at shrnetwork.biz/snacks. That's SNAX. Use the code superhuman for 15% off your first order plus a free 2-ounce pork loin.
New Mass Pro Synthogen X2 just upped its own legendary game. To distance itself even further from the rest of the pack, Synthogen X2 now has double the key active ingredients. If you've ever wondered what steroid-like recovery feels like, Synthogen X2 delivers. See why others compare it favorably to powerful bodybuilding drugs at synthogen.com. Mass Pro Synthogen. When you train with it, you'll gain with it.
Delta 8. Knoll Creek Hemp Company's Delta 8 soft chews are the premier Delta 8 product on the market today. Knoll Creek's Delta 8 is produced from high-quality hemp-derived CBD oil, and soft chews are manufactured using proprietary nano-emulsification technique that ensures the Delta 8 soft chew will timely deliver the desired effects cleanly and consistently from piece to piece. In a space where at least 70% of the products fail to meet label claims and where most users of conventional hemp products are left disappointed, Knoll Creek's Delta 8 soft chews are a product you can trust. Visit shrnetwork.biz/delta8. That's DELTA and the number 8, and use the code SHR20 to get 20% off your first order today. Hey, this is Carl Lenore. Superhuman Radio is the longest running health, fitness, and anti-aging podcast in the world, going into our 16th year of continuous production. If you have a product that you think would appeal to the Superhuman Nation, we can get you on the air quickly and inexpensively to help promote your brand. Join the ranks of some of the largest and most successful companies in the world who know how great it is to be affiliated with Superhuman Radio. Contact Dan Kapitsky today. That's DAN.KOPITZKE at superhumanradio.net to learn more. Remember those rectangular toaster pastries you used to love when you were a kid? Well, Legendary Foods has just made them better. The new cake-style tasty pastry is like nothing you've ever had before. With 20 grams of high-quality protein and less than 1 gram of sugar, you'll feel like you're cheating, but you're not. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary and use the code SHR10 to save 10% off your purchase of tasty pastries. Now available in cookies and cream, red velvet cake, birthday cake, blueberry, strawberry, brown sugar cinnamon, and hot fudge sundae. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary and use code SHR10 today.
This is the Superhuman Channel. Evolution just got kicked up a notch.
Welcome back. Later in the show, we're going to be talking about Delta 8. It's actually Delta 8 THC. I did mislabel it as CBD. It's Delta 8 THC, but it's from hemp. And according to the bill that was signed during the Trump administration, every part of hemp is legal. And the government is already going after Delta 8 because I'm sure sleeping pill sales are down since Delta 8 has been introduced. But we'll talk about that later in the show. So if you want to learn more about it, just stick around. So the next question comes from Chuck Gill. He said, I've heard your answer about conditioning versus cardio last week, which made perfect sense to me. But I just can't seem to get where I want to be. What's the fastest way to improve my conditioning?
Well, in my opinion, there are two. And one of them works rather quickly. The other one, it takes time. And it always has, and it always will. Neither one, however, is easy. So I need you to understand that up front, right? This is not going to be easy. It's simple as that. The first method simply involves losing fat, not weight, fat. We know there's a big difference. The easiest way to accomplish that is to reduce calories, carbs, or both. And the reason is that it steadies and or lowers insulin, which is the common denominator in every successful fat loss diet. Losing fast, too fast, is not recommended, right? So after maybe you get some initial water off, a pound a week is a good, rate of loss. Unfortunately, if you lose more than that, you're risking losing muscle, which is why most crash dieters and cardio bunnies look worse after losing weight and not better. They may lose weight, but at the end of the day, they're just smaller fat people, often with the same or an even worse body fat percentage. That's the danger of just looking at numbers on a scale. Likewise, eating like a bird, less protein, and lots of low intensity steady state cardio, that's a great way to chew up muscle. So I would avoid that approach as well. You will, however, you're going to be hungry at some point. It's dieting. It goes with the territory. That's the kind of the unpleasant part of method number one, and the one that takes the most time. Method number two is really unpleasant, but at least it's temporary. I call it sustained cardiorespiratory distress. High intensity interval training is the most widely used and familiar fat loss protocol. So we'll use that, let's say, as our example. Imagine a HIIT session like that on a treadmill, bike, or what have you. 30 seconds all out sprint, maybe 30 seconds of rest. You take most people, have them do that. After a few minutes, it gets ugly real fast. Assuming you're giving it everything you have, cardiorespiratory distress sets in pretty quickly. And your job, as I see it, is to sustain and endure that as long as possible. Now, should you build up to it? Yes. You're going to be sweating, your muscles are going to be burning, and your lungs will feel like they're on fire. But to get better and to have a better level of conditioning, you have to sustain longer and longer periods of it. That's really the quickest way that I found anyway to improve. But, I do it because it works hand in glove, right, with the fat loss. And the combination of the two, gets you in better condition faster than either one separately. So I actually did a really deep dive on this. It just got done. In next month's bulletin, I have a very special, unique protocol that I arrived at that I have found works fantastic. And it doesn't, you don't have to necessarily match your workout perfectly to this to get the benefit of it, as I've talked about in the past. It'll help anybody get in better condition versus, let's say, conventional methods. And it also builds mental toughness, faster than anything I've encountered. So I would tell you this: start your diet now and realize that it's going to take a while. So if you have 20 pounds to lose, it'll take about 20 weeks. That's 5 months, right? Almost half a year. Not a lot of people are going to want to hear that, but that's the truth. And, you should be shooting for something in that ballpark, okay? Assuming that 1 pound per week rule. In the meantime, you can work on enduring that cardiorespiratory distress for longer and longer periods of time and get that done, twice a week. You're not going to be able to do it every day, even every other day. Once you build up to higher and higher amounts of it, it gets extremely difficult for the same reason you can't lift heavier and heavier weights every single workout. You have to give the body time to rest and super compensate. So you might be able to do it more frequently than, 3 days a week early. But keep in mind this always: the quickest way to flatline is to do too much before you're ready, right? So start slow, add a few minutes every week, and build up while you trim down. And that's how to do it, in my opinion. The best way to do it.
So this question comes from Carrie Kruger in Pretoria, South Africa. Her name is missing because I went to the page to see who it was. She said, awesome to be here. It's come out during the oncology scans that there is a big possibility that I might either have lupus or rheumatoid arthritis. Whatever the diagnosis, the joint and body aches constantly and are quite severe. Would GLC 2000 and Axistatin be good products for me to use for joint regeneration and pain relief? Or maybe the CBD product, or all of them. So, no, it's not going to give you what you need, Carrie, the GLC product, because you have an autoimmune disorder that's attacking the chondrocytes in your joints. And it's not just going to happen in your hands, it's going to happen in your neck. And this whole scale attack on chondrocytes must be stopped. No supplement is going to tilt the changes that you're seeing in your joints. And the pain that you're feeling in your muscles, if you're feeling them in your muscles, really has nothing to do with the joints, as you know. And this widespread pain that's associated with lupus and fibromyalgia and RA has more to do with the nervous system being attacked by the same things that's attacking the joints. So you really, I would say to you, and your doctor is going to say not to do this, but I'm telling you, so you need to go on a very, 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 very strict elimination diet. You must eliminate all plant matter, all grains, potatoes, tomatoes. You need to eliminate these from your diet for at least 4 weeks. The easiest way to do this is to try a modified carnivore diet. And that is meat and fish, and stay away from eggs, because of what they feed chickens, eggs are considered an allergen. Stay away from dairy because of what they feed cows makes it an allergen. But chicken, beef, pork, fish, every meal for a month. I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. Around the second week, a lot of this pain is going to just disappear. And if you stick with it long enough, you'll see the joints start to change. If you do have any proud joints that are starting to show up, like your knuckles on your fingers are starting to get bigger than the fingers themselves, that will actually reverse over time. Once you shut down inflammation and the inflammatory response that's causing your body to attack your own tissue. So it's not easy. A lot of people say, oh, I couldn't live without pasta. I couldn't live without salads, or I couldn't. Oh, and then the other side is, oh, well, aren't salads good and aren't vegetables good? Well, here's what I will tell you. You have been diagnosed with the possibility of one of two different autoimmune disorders, and all autoimmune disorders respond favorably to taking plant-based foods out of the diet. Think about that, right? We're being told that, oh, plants are healthy. You need to eat more plants and less beef. But so many people have changed the trajectory of their lives from being hostages to their autoimmune disorders to living great lives. So don't worry about supplements. You have to put out the fire first. And the way to put out the fire is to change your diet radically, at least for a month. Look on Dr. Sean Baker's wall on Instagram. He has a book on the carnivore diet. I don't think you need a book, but if you want a book that gives you more recipes, then give it a try. But I promise you, if you try it, you're going to feel better.
Yeah, a book was the first thing that came to my mind. For the life of me, I can't remember the exact title or who wrote it, but it was something along the lines of the anti-inflammatory diet. And I'm lucky. I don't have many inflammatory conditions. But I do remember a lot of talk about eliminating plants, and in particular, nightshade things, like, right, tomatoes,
eggplants, exactly.
Yeah. And so I think diet is obviously the first fix here. And hopefully that will allow you to partake in exercise a little bit more. The only other experience I have is I trained a woman with a autoimmune condition, ankylosing spondylitis. It's clearly not what they're telling you that you might have, but her analogy was this. Exercise for her was like taking the ice cube tray out and shaking it around and twisting it a little bit. And the point being, if she did not do that, she got a lot worse. And so I don't know if that's going to be true in your case, but hopefully the combination of eliminating, inflammatory foods and so forth, and the exercise will make a difference. There's a class of drugs in the United States. I don't understand much about them. It's Enbrel, and I forget what the other one is.
They're called biologics.
Right.
And they are designed to disrupt your immune system and stop it from working. So what happens to the immune system when you develop an autoimmune disorder is the immune system targets things in your body that shouldn't be there. Somewhere along the line, because of proteins that have gotten directly into your bloodstream from your gut, these proteins are bad actors. The immune system goes after them. The problem is these proteins look very similar to tissue. Chondrocytes, thyroid, for people with Hashimoto's, their body attacks their own thyroid. So it's like the innocent bystander syndrome. And the only way to identify which bad actors have caused the problem is to eliminate 99.9% of everything in your diet. People who go vegan because they have autoimmune disorders, the autoimmune disorders get worse. They get worse, but they convince themselves that the vegan diet is good. So that's it. You need to do a modified version of carnivore for the next 30 days. Do not eat any plants and don't drink milk or eat eggs because of what they feed them that makes it into the egg and into the milk. And watch what happens in a month. I'm willing to bet you that you will come back on this show and say, I can't believe it. All of my symptoms have subsided, or they have subsided so dramatically that I know I'm on the right track. That's
I do recall a couple of girls I dated that had RA. The thing that aggravated it most was dairy. I remember
dairy's not bad if cows just eat grass to produce the milk.
But it's grain, right?
Excuse me. But because they feed them grains, corn, and all sorts of other horrible things, that gets into the milk. The same way that a breastfeeding mother, what she eats gets into the baby's milk, right? If she has a beer, the baby gets some of the alcohol.
Jeez.
So that's what's wrong with dairy. And eggs is the same thing because it's an embryo. It follows the path, right? It's an embryo. That's basically what it is. And everything the mother eats gets to the embryo. Well, everything the chicken eats gets to the egg. So you need to eliminate dairy and eggs to really, really, really see the changes in your body. All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break. And when we come back, we have the blueprint tip of the day. All of you who are asking questions about Delta 8, we will get to those at the top of the hour when we are joined by the folks from Knoll Creek. So stay tuned. We'll be right back with more Superhuman Radio and the blueprint tip of the day. I need to share with you all a revolutionary new wearable technology called HapBee. HapBee allows you to enjoy the effects of caffeine, alcohol, nicotine, melatonin, and muscle relaxants without actually ingesting anything. Yes, really. They figured out the unique magnetic signature of each of these molecules and recorded them. Just put the HapBee on, choose the signal you want, and it starts projecting the magnetic signature of that molecule that you choose, like coffee for feeling alert. Go to hapbee.com/SHR. That's HAPBEE.com/SHR to learn more and unlock an $80 discount exclusively for the Superhuman Radio listeners. Delta 8. Being superhuman means being conscientious about the choices we make. White Oak Pastures is superhuman when it comes to raising livestock. They're committed to animal welfare, land regeneration, and rural revival. They responsibly manage the entire process from the pasture to your doorstep. High quality, pasture raised, great tasting meat from a farm you can trust. Full nose to tail selections. They even have options for your pet. Go to shrnetwork.biz/white oak and use code SHR20 to save 20% off your entire first order. Is there something interfering with your happiness or ability to achieve your goals? BetterHelp can help. They will assess your needs and match you with a licensed therapist. This is not a self-help or crisis line. It's professional counseling done securely online. They have a broad range of experts and are available worldwide without having to wait in an uncomfortable waiting room. Get the help you need and start living a happier life today. Go to shrnetwork.biz/betterhelp. That's better, HELP, and receive 10% off your first month of counseling when you use the code SHR. Attention meat lovers. I've discovered a snack with just 2 ingredients, meat and salt. That is so tender and delicious, you almost can't believe it. That's right. No soy, sugar, or other crap. Our partner, Carnivore Snacks, nailed it with these mouth-watering snacks. They have a variety too. Ribeye, pork loin, leg of lamb, and more, all sourced here in the USA from regenerative farms. Claim your superhuman offer from Carnivore Snacks today at shrnetwork.biz/snacks. That's SNAX. Use the code superhuman for 15% off your first order, plus a free 2-ounce pork loin. If you spend any amount of time sitting while at work, like I do, I have the chair for you. The Backstrong chair from All 33 is the most comfortable office chair I've ever sat in. That's the truth. Their patented technology allows your body to move the way it's supposed to move while you sit. Designed by a chiropractor to position your pelvis in a way that stacks all 33 of your vertebrae into perfect alignment. The benefits of this ideal posture include relief of back pain, deeper breathing, better digestion, improved circulation, greater focus, sharper memory, and more productivity. Start experiencing these benefits today. Go to shrnetwork.biz/move and use the code SHR100 for a $100 discount on your Backstrong chair. Remember those rectangular toaster pastries you used to love when you were a kid? Well, Legendary Foods has just made them better. The new cake-style tasty pastry is like nothing you've ever had before. With 20 grams of high-quality protein and less than 1 gram of sugar, you'll feel like you're cheating, but you're not. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary and use the code SHR10 to save 10% off your purchase of tasty pastries. Now available in cookies and cream, red velvet cake, birthday cake, blueberry, strawberry, brown sugar cinnamon, and hot fudge sundae. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary and use code SHR10 today.
Spit that out right now. This is the Superhuman Channel.
Welcome back. At the top of the hour, we're going to be joined by Nate Hummel and Bill Mitchell to talk about Delta 8. Bill Mitchell is a good friend of mine, and he's got a very powerful testimony to talk about in reference to the Knoll Creek Delta 8 product. So I asked him to come on the show. Anyway, Rob, what is the BluePrint tip of the day?
Tip of the day is about why listening to your body might be your greatest long-term ally, and not just in the gym. So resistance training, as we know, is very powerful medicine, about the most powerful that you can avail yourself to. Even those on large amounts of anabolics and food absolutely need training to maximize their results. Anabolics or not, training does things no supplement or drug can. It's that powerful and it's that important. It logically follows then, at least in my mind, that learning everything that you can about how your body responds to various forms of, training variables is crucial. In fact, I call it the most important part of anyone's program. I learned this little lesson when I was in college. So after the magic of the newbie gains wore off, everything came to a screeching halt. Now, I was still eating big. I was still sleeping big. I was still thinking big too, or better said, bigger than I currently was. The steroid route was out, frankly, in large part because I never felt I knew enough about it. I didn't hang with that crowd. Not that I have anything against them, but it is what it is. After I instinctively knew, though, right? If I'm turning over every rock and I'm not finding the answer, there's always one more. And it didn't take me long to figure out there was a lot more to training than I realized. So I went looking for those answers. And after discovering Dr. Squat, Fred Hatfield's book, Power, A Scientific Approach, I'll never forget the day I found that book. And Powerlifting USA's Workout of the Month, for those of you that remembered it, I started gaining rapidly again. Essentially, all I did was apply percentage-based training, right, protocols to what I was doing, and predictably, that much greater precision paid off handsomely. It was simply a matter of scaling the poundages, right, to your 1 rep max, or so I thought, right, because that's really not teaching you body wisdom either, because every variable was laid out for me. How much weight to use, how many sets and reps to perform. Some programs even told you how long to rest in between sets to maximize your results. But it was then that I realized there was something missing, something that none of these programs could tell you. Nobody can tell you how frequently you can train productively. So I had to figure that problem out. It was and continues to be probably the biggest question mark in people's training, and it's vexing, right? And that's because it's a moving target. In effect, when you can train productively next, it depends. Depends how much you've been eating, how much you've been sleeping, how much stress you have at the moment, how old or young you are, and how much total tonnage you are using, and your mental state, right? All of that goes into, can I train productively again? And to date, there is no algorithm even that I know of that can do it. Well, I take that back. There is one system that I know of that claims to be able to tell you when you can train the most productively. And to be totally honest, I'm not sure if it works, for the simple reason that I haven't heard from many of my guys that took the plunge, right, and tried it. So I would do it. Unfortunately, it doesn't work for body weight stuff, though, which is the majority of what I've been doing for the last 6 months. What does work, though, at least to a certain degree, is your acquired body wisdom, something that only comes with years of experience. I can tell with reasonable certainty when I can train again, but it's largely subjective. Resting heart rate can tell you a lot. We've talked about that before, but that's not perfect either. The combination of the two is probably the best you can do at the moment to not over or under train. And there's plenty of both going on in gyms today. Make no mistake about that. Overtraining and undertraining. Whatever you do, because this is about you acquiring the correct, body wisdom to make things more productive. Whatever you do, don't train blindly, right? So if you're currently winging it, you can at least tighten up, right, with knowing things like how much weight to use, how many reps to perform, how many sets to perform, what your rest intervals look like. But only time will give you one of the most precious pieces of wisdom that this game entails, which makes training consistently, which is the last issue, important. Whether it's a good day at work, a bad day, you're getting along with your spouse, or you're fighting like cats and dogs, for God's sake, still make sure you make your scheduled workouts and write things down. I can't tell you how often I look back in my training notes and boom, there it is. There will be something that you learn every time, or some detail that you overlooked or forgot, because the memory is a fickle thing, especially as you get older, there's going to be something there that's going to help improve your future training workouts more than you know. Honest to goodness. So take time today to learn and apply a couple of those lessons, because you can speed up the learning curve, right, if you're doing other things correctly. Other than time itself, though, body wisdom takes time, and it does more, though, once you have it, it'll do more to get and keep you gaining than anything else I'm aware of. Truly.
I'm using it right now. I took the week off.
Yeah, we were talking about that. And now you're right. You're going to be back soon.
Yeah, I mean, I came back from LA and I was a little bit jet lagged, and I thought, I just need some time off. I've been training very consistently for at least 8-9 weeks now.
Right.
And making progress. And I thought, a week off isn't going to hurt me. And if anything, I actually feel ready to get back in the gym. That's how you know you've taken off at the right time, because I actually looking forward to getting back in the gym.
How many weeks did you push things for before you left?
About 9. Between 7 and 9. I lost track. I haven't missed any training dates so far in the past few months.
Yeah, that's a long time, and you use a decent amount of volume too.
Volume and weight. I don't go in and I don't do pump sessions. Let's just say none of my sessions are pump sessions. So
yeah.
Good stuff. Go to CoachRobRegish.com, follow Rob on his website, join his BluePrint Army, and get a lot of this information, stuff we can't even talk about on the show, sent directly to your inbox. Check him out. Rob, thanks for being here today. And
Thank you.
See you next week, brother.
All right. Thank you.
We're going to take one quick commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to be talking about this fascinating new molecule, Delta-8 THC. I can tell you, I use it every night. I'll discuss my dosages, and I sleep so much better, and I don't wake up groggy in the morning like if I was using an edible, a cannabis-based edible. It doesn't do that to me. This stuff is amazing, and that's why we have to be careful, because anything that works, the government wants to take away from us. So stay tuned. We'll be right back with more Superhuman Radio and your questions and comments about Delta-8. Stay tuned. Is there something interfering with your happiness or ability to achieve your goals? BetterHelp can help. They will assess your needs and match you with a licensed therapist. This is not a self-help or crisis line. It's professional counseling done securely online. They have a broad range of experts and are available worldwide without having to wait in an uncomfortable waiting room. Get the help you need and start living a happier life today. Go to shrnetwork.biz/betterhelp. That's better, HELP, and receive 10% off your first month of counseling when you use the code SHR. Knoll Creek Hemp Company's Delta-8 soft chews are the premier Delta-8 product on the market today. Knoll Creek's Delta-8 is produced from high-quality hemp-derived CBD oil, and soft chews are manufactured using proprietary nano-emulsification technique that ensures the Delta-8 soft chew will timely deliver the desired effects cleanly and consistently from piece to piece. In a space where at least 70% of the products fail to meet label claims and where most users of conventional hemp products are left disappointed, Knoll Creek's Delta-8 soft chews are a product you can trust. Visit shrnetwork.biz/delta8. That's DELTA and the number 8, and use the code SHR20 to get 20% off your first order today. Redcon One's new BAR bar is the ultimate soft-baked protein-packed snack bar, powered by peanut butter. Perfect for while on the go to help curb hunger or sneaky sweet tooth cravings. With 20 grams of protein, use as a meal replacement bar or when you're in need of a high-protein snack. Eat a Redcon One bar as a midday snack or for fuel before an intense training session. Go to shrnetwork.biz/Redcon1 and use the code SHR25 and save 25% off these delicious bars today. I I keep saying the number one killer is insulin resistance. Managing blood sugar is the key to living long and aging well. But we all like to eat starchy carbohydrates and sugars from time to time. How do I manage this? I use a product called Blood Sugar Breakthrough by Bioptimizers. This easy-to-take supplement is the result of numerous tests to find the absolute best formula for maintaining healthy blood sugar. Blood Sugar Breakthrough works to safely lower blood sugar after meals so that you can maintain a healthy weight and redirect carbohydrates to your muscles where they can be burned as energy. This means you'll avoid the worst effects of high blood sugar, like weight gain and advanced aging, while enjoying more stable energy, mental clarity, and fewer cravings. Go to shrnetwork.biz/blood sugar and save 10% with code SHR10 today. Being superhuman means being conscientious about the choices we make. White Oak Pastures is superhuman when it comes to raising livestock. They're committed to animal welfare, land regeneration, and rural revival. They responsibly manage the entire process from the pasture to your doorstep. High-quality, pasture-raised, great-tasting meat from a farm you can trust. Full nose-to-tail selections. They even have options for your pet. Go to shrnetwork.biz/white oak and use code SHR20 to save 20% off your entire first order. Delta 8. I need to share with you all a revolutionary new wearable technology called HapBee. HapBee allows you to enjoy the effects of caffeine, alcohol, nicotine, melatonin, and muscle relaxants without actually ingesting anything. Yes, really. They figured out the unique magnetic signature of each of these molecules and recorded them. Just put the HapBee on, choose the signal you want, and it starts projecting the magnetic signature of that molecule that you choose, like coffee for feeling alert. Go to hapbee.com/SHR. That's HAPBEE.com/SHR to learn more and unlock an $80 discount exclusively for the Superhuman Radio listeners.
This is the Superhuman Channel, where we use oxygen for the power of good.
Welcome back to Superhuman Radio. We're joined by Nate Hummel of Knoll Creek Hemp. How you doing, Nate?
I'm good, Carl. How are you?
Wonderful, wonderful. And we've got Bill Mitchell on deck. He'll be joining us in a little bit as a unsolicited, I say unsolicited because he's not being paid anything, customer testimonial we're going to have. Let's start. So I obviously mislabeled today's show as Delta 8 CBD, when in fact it's Delta 8 THC. So why don't we start out with the basics? What is Delta 8?
So the basics, it's very similar to like Delta 9 THC, but it's all about where the double bond in the structure is located. So you're going to get very similar experiences, but what I really enjoy about it is a lot less of that paranoia, that kind of hallucination effect. That's not for me. That's never been for me. And so getting in with Delta 8 like that, it's just, it's more performance based, less typical stoner, get you high kind of mentality. This is a great supplement, a true supplement where you've talked about it many times on your show about sleeping better, performing better, mind muscle connection. I'm someone that struggles with ADD. So for me, I've described it as my brain always has 35 tabs open on the internet browser, right? When I start to settle in, it feels like I'm closing down browsers, stuff that I don't need, especially if I'm going to the gym. I don't need to think about what I'm doing for dinner plans or the people that are around me. I want to focus on, if I'm doing a bicep curl, what part of my muscle is performing that exercise, and not looking around at the different people at the gym or what's going on. So that's one of the biggest things for me.
Now I haven't used it in a while actually, but cannabis, one of the reasons I don't like cannabis is because it gradually makes me weaker and weaker in the gym. I don't notice that with Delta 8 at all.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. For me, again, it's all about that focus. It's all about, from my gym sessions, it's that mind muscle connection that I think we're all striving for. We really want to focus and be effective and efficient with our time. I love what Rob was stating about listening to your body long term. To me, it helps me get more in tune with my body. We see it from top sports athletes. You hear NFL players that have said, they've used some form of Delta 8, Delta 9 to get prepared for games or to work out. That's what we're interested in.
So let me see. There's a couple questions I want to put up here. And Stephen Rushing said Delta 8 is not CBD, it's THC. However, I guess where I'm confused from, it's made from hemp-derived CBD, right?
Correct. Yeah, the one thing that we like to make sure people are aware of is it does exactly what he's talking about, binding to the receptors. It's, we start talking about lock and key, and it does bond to similar receptors so that you are able to block out the noise, focus better, and really achieve the results that you're looking for.
I want to bring my friend Bill Mitchell on because before we start talking more about Delta 8, I just want him to talk about his personal experience. Hold on a second. Let me just get him up here. And I got to drop some things here. Hold on. I'm sorry. I'm producing the show as at the same time I'm doing the interview. So I have to. Okay. So Bill, how you doing?
Hi, Carl. How are you doing?
Wonderful. So I know Bill for 20 somewhat years. He was a commercial airline pilot for 35 years, Bill?
35 years and retired about 8 months ago.
Okay. And one of the things that happened to Bill from being a commercial airline pilot is his ability to sleep was destroyed. Talk about a typical week in your life when you were still flying. And keep in mind, Bill was with Southwest. He was one of the first pilots or in a group of the first pilots that were hired. So he's
They had already been going for quite a while, but Carl and I were talking just this morning. We were talking about sleep and rest and how difficult it's to get. Well, Carl just came back from LA, and he's been complaining about jet lag and coming back from LA to Louisville. And I'm thinking that's not even one day of what I would go through a week. And I had to readjust every single week. And I think over the years and the decades, the circadian rhythm, just so much damage was done, and getting up at 3:30 in the morning and then trying to readjust to my time zone and my schedule. So even if I readjusted to my time zone, I didn't readjust to my schedule. I don't want to get up at 3:30 in the morning on my days off. And that's what would happen a lot of times. And so sleep became a real challenge. And then for me, the irony was after I retired, it seemed to get a little more pronounced. And I was kind of relying on these sleeping pills, which they're not a good alternative. I never felt like I had quality restorative sleep. I felt like I could barely function the next day, but it wasn't quality sleep. And, I'm going to use two different terms. One is doesn't have enough it doesn't do enough to what I'm about to say, that, okay, the product from Knoll Creek was a game changer. It was, but I don't really feel like it does it justice. For me, I think it was a lifesaver. And here's the difference. I could take a sleeping pill and I could go to sleep, but I didn't wake up feeling rested. Now with this product, I haven't touched a sleeping pill in forever, and I wake up without anxiety. I feel rested, and I feel like I did have restorative sleep. So to me, I'm not going to say a game changer. That underplays it a little bit. For me, things were, as Carl knows, he's one of my best friends, it was getting critical, and the quality of life on these sleeping pills was not what I would want. Whereas I have abundant sleep now, and I like that word, abundant sleep.
Yeah, first of all, we love to hear that story. Can you talk about the stress associated with, especially with flying? I mean, one of my favorite times to take our product is after traveling, because I travel with my family, I have my kids in the car.
Right.
If I start dozing off, or, I get white knuckled. And then when I get home, it feels like I'm up for hours. I mean, I don't know if you experience that in your line of work too, but I would come home at 2:00 in the morning after almost falling asleep driving, and I'd be up for the next 2 or 3 hours. Like, how was I just almost falling asleep? And now I can't.
I see that. I want to make something very clear. Bill did not use this product when he was flying.
Right,
Yeah,
absolutely.
He wasn't even allowed. Pilots aren't even allowed to use sleeping pills. They
No.
can, which is an entirely different story. Pilots get run down while they're flying. You know, you're landing in a different time zone. You're up at 3 a.m. in the morning. You're flying out again. Like, these pilots are exhausted, and they could get restorative sleep if they were allowed to take something like this, but they're not even allowed to. Now, this is a different thing. You could test positive for THC. So if you're in a job that's drug tested, you should not just willy-nilly take this product.
On that note, I wouldn't even contemplate having taken anything while I was still working. It wasn't available to me at the time, and I'm simply not going to break any rules that the FAA puts out there. I'm simply not going to risk the job. I'm not going to risk anything like that. This has all been since retirement, and it has changed my life. It really has.
So you just posed something that I want to put up here, because this will be a good question. Justin Wolf says, oh no, this is funny. He says he tells friends the Delta 8 is the only Delta variant that he cares about. Someone asked the question about what's the best dose for stress versus sleep. Do you have any information on that? Well, here we go. Yeah, Brian Cunningham says, what's the typical dose of Delta 8 for stress relief versus sleep?
I mean, for me, the perfect dose is to start low and go slow. That's our slogan. You'll hear us say that hundreds of times. Just, you can always put more in, but you can't take it out once you consume it. So, I've seen people start as low as an eighth of a cube and move their way up from there. Typically we'll see anywhere from a quarter all the way up to a half for some people. And, when I'm messing around with like my workouts, I like to vary different things and try different things. I don't know that I would go more than a half for me personally. And that's what's very unique about it. And that's what we love about our product, is because it is so controlled. You've talked about it on your ad, but when it's controlled and when you get consistent dosages out of it, you don't have the spikes. We see that a lot in competitive products, where you'll take one gummy or two gummies even and not feel anything. And then the last gummy in the bag will just punch you in the face, and you don't know what hit you. So with how we manufacture, with the product control that we have on our product, it really changes the game so that you can have that consistent dosing every single time, whether you're taking a quarter or a half, whatever it is for you.
Well, so part of that, here's what I've learned, right? So part of that is because you actually put the Delta 8 into a nano emulsion first before it's incorporated into the gummy. I've learned that there are companies out there who make the gummies or buy they buy gummies and they spray the Delta 8 on it. Now think about
this. Spray or inject, all possibilities. Yep. But you can't rely on consistency with that.
No. And especially if it's sprayed on, it's going to rub off inside the bag.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And how much gets sprayed, and what is one piece more under direct flow of the spray? The piece on the edge, is that getting just part of the spray?
And let's not forget the benefits of a liposomal delivery, which is nano emulsified and encapsulated into basically a cell of fat, if you will. And we know that it delivers consistently and better that way.
Absolutely.
So that's a big deal. That to me, that's a really, really big deal. So let me try to answer Brian's. I've had lots of experience with cannabis starting back in high school. I'm 63 now, and it takes quite a bit of weed to get me high. And so, as expected, it takes a little bit larger dose of the Delta 8 to make me feel it. I take one gummy, 25 milligrams, an hour and a half before bedtime on an empty stomach. I do this systematically. And by the time I get in bed at 9, it's starting to work already. I can feel it. I'm getting weary. I'm getting tired. And I go to sleep, and I sleep all night. There are nights now that I don't even get up to pee. That was unheard of before this product. I always got up at least once, sometimes 2 or 3 times.
And you're not paranoid, you're not hallucinating, you're relaxed and you're calm. That's, to me, that's even more important about it. Because if I'm going to lay in bed and be paranoid and freak out over something, that doesn't do me any good either.
If I was going to take this product strictly for stress, right? Like I've got a big meeting and I want to take myself down a notch, which has never been a problem for me anyway, I would take half personally. So, I would take half the dose, whatever the dose is that you sleep well with, go for half the dose. If you just want to take the edge off because you're under a lot of stress. That's
but
just
Carl, I love that you bring that up, because for me, I don't have as much experience with weed like you were talking about. That was never a big thing for me growing up. And for me, I'm about half of everything that you just said. When I get ready for bed, if I've had a hard day or I've been traveling, Bill, like what we were talking about earlier, I'll cut a gummy in half and I'll take that same as you, about an hour and a half to 2 hours before bed. And it gets me right where I need to be. If I've got a big meeting, or like you said, if I'm amped up, I work in the professional world as well. So for me, it's about a quarter of a gummy is all I need to really kind of strip that edge off and relax a little bit. So again, start low and go slow, and find the balance that's right for you. And if it's an eighth and a quarter, then that's all you need. And that's great. But if it's more because you have more experience with it, that's okay too, but always add up to it.
So Dean Paulson asked if there's any benefit to dissolving it on the tongue. What I do is I chew it and I keep chewing it and I keep chewing it until it literally disappears, so that some of it will be absorbed in the buccal and under the tongue, and the rest of it will be absorbed in the gut. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I haven't noticed anything like that. I've tried several different dosing strategies. I've mixed it up into like a pre-workout and just made it pure, almost liquid to a certain degree. I love the just chew. I love the method of chewing it and emulsifying it as much as you can before going just straight to swallowing it.
Now, I have found, Dean is asking some really good questions, and I have accidentally, when I was first experimenting with it, one night before bed, I thought, let me take 2, see what happens. I woke up in the middle of the night because I felt stoned. I remember waking up and thinking, I feel a little like it was a positive. I didn't feel anxiety. I felt like maybe I should get up and watch TV for a while. Like I had a little buzz. I really did, but that's because I took 2. And so clearly, but I have not experienced anxiety from it per se, but I absolutely have taken too much and felt a little buzz. Let's say
have you had anything? So let me ask you, when you took the extra, or even in the evenings when you're taking the full, how does that do for your appetite? Do you get hungry? You say you like to take it on an empty stomach. Do you get that hunger?
No, it does not give me the munchies like weed does. Not at all. It doesn't affect my. In fact, I don't get hungry at all when I take it.
Mm-hmm. Good. Yeah. I mean, we've seen people that want to use it for appetite stimulation. I'm in the same boat as you, Carl. I haven't noticed that. Bill, have you, in your experiences, has that been anything for you as far as appetite?
No, but the thing is, I was literally looking to regain a quality of life that was missing. I've never been into drugs, or I've had no desire to go in that direction. I simply was tired of the pharmaceutical sleeping pill that never left me rested. And I wanted something natural. And now Carl and I go to the same doctor, and I don't know if you all have touched on the endocannabinoid system, but my doctor actually explained it to me that I wanted something that was natural and that would just get the job done. I wasn't looking for anything. I feel it relaxes me and puts me to sleep, or helps me get to sleep. But I feel not like when I drink alcohol, I feel nothing from it other than that I'm relaxed, and it seems to quell some anxiety that allows me to get to sleep. And that's it. I don't pick up any sensation of being stoned or drunk or anything.
So here's another observation of mine. When I do drink alcohol, it wrecks my sleep. My sleep is like this, up and down, up and down. I'm arousal, asleep, and it's very, very fragmented. Normally on a good night, when I go to sleep, I go into deep. I stay into deep for at least an hour and a half, 2 hours, and then I start to come out of it. And then towards the morning, I'm rising up higher. When I take alcohol, I never get into that deep sleep for very long. It's just up and down. This normalizes that. If I take the Knoll Creek Delta 8 gummy at the normal dose that I would take to sleep in the evening, on an evening that I had alcohol, it normalizes, it fixes my sleep. I don't have the erratic sleep pattern that I would have had I just gone to sleep with the alcohol by itself. That's something that I've learned. Hey, Bill, I want to thank you for coming on and talking about this.
Hey, my pleasure.
Yeah, and Billy has told me that he thinks it saved his life. He said that because we all know that if you don't sleep well, after a while, it's going to kill you. Just whether it's
absolutely.
Yeah, and so this was a big game changer for him. And I know he doesn't like using that term. He feels like it really doesn't do it justice for what it's done for him.
Hey, Bill, before you do go, can I ask you what was your dosing like? What was your initial experiment with it? Did you come in and I hope you didn't just pop a full gummy, but what can you talk about your experience when you first got your first pack?
I tend to stagger it. I'll take half a gummy early, and then I'll take the other half right before bed. When I took it early, sometimes I would tend to. The problem I had with the sleeping pills, I'd wake up in the middle of the night. Where if I would stagger the dose, I tend to sleep 8.5 hours. I thought those days were gone. I thought those days were 20 years in my past, where I could sleep for 8.5 hours straight, where I don't feel impaired going to bed, and I certainly don't feel impaired waking up.
Yeah, and it's interesting that Bill stumbled upon this. So what he's doing is he's actually creating a sustained release Delta 8 by taking one, an hour and a half before bed, and then taking one right before bed. When the first one starts to wear off, the second one kicks in and just carries him through. I think that's brilliant.
Yeah.
But the thing that I like is I don't like the feeling that alcohol imparts if you drink too much. I don't like those feelings. I don't want to have to feel impaired to go to sleep. And all I feel is relaxed and receptive to sleep. That before I'd have anxiety about going to sleep, that anxiety's gone, and now I feel receptive, but I don't feel impaired. I don't feel anything other than I'm ready to go to sleep.
And see, that's something that insomniacs complain about. They have such horrible sleep that anticipating going to bed, it wrecks it even more, because they're freaked out, like, oh, I'm going to wake up tonight, I'm not going to feel good tomorrow.
That's right.
And they dwell on
that anxiety.
Yeah. All right, Bill, I'm going to let you hop off, and we're going to finish up the interview and talk about the legalities. There's a lot more to talk about. Thank you so much for being here, brother.
Hey, my pleasure. My pleasure.
Hey, thank you, Bill. We appreciate it.
My pleasure, sir. My pleasure.
All right, so we'll let Bill go, and we'll go back to our screen here and get rid of those names, because I didn't have his name on the original screen. So anyway, let's talk about, so there's everything that works that threatens a segment of the pharmaceutical industry is always being threatened to be removed. We saw this with kratom for people who suffer from pain, and now we're seeing it with Delta 8. Can you talk about the Farm Bill and hemp and how it has a protected status?
Yeah, we're seeing that coming up. Federally, it allows Delta 8 to be legal from a federal perspective, but we're looking at this from a state by state level, and you see it in different places. And just what you were talking about, Carl, with the fact that Colorado has different statutes, Michigan has things like you can only get it at dispensaries. You see different levels from a state to state perspective, and I think a lot of it is exactly what you're talking about, to protect either the pharma or the current weed, setups that they have in their particular state. So it's really trying to understand, the legality from each individual state from your perspective.
So what do you, if you had a guess, and we won't hold you to this, first of all, doesn't the Farm Bill identify every part of hemp as being legal at this point in time on a federal level?
So the Farm Bill opened up in the U.S. market for all cannabinoids found in hemp except for Delta 9.
Right.
So that's the big kicker there.
And there's a Delta 10, I heard too, that they're starting to experiment with. So there's Delta 8 and Delta 10. So as long as you're not selling Delta 9, you're fine. Or actually, I think as long as Delta 9 isn't more than 0.4% or 0.8%, you know, because obviously some people can't get it all out. But there's no how can the states legislate this this plant and this form if on a federal level it's, or because we have the opposite right now, right? On a federal level, cannabis is illegal,
Right.
but some states have adopted it. Now we have something that on a federal level is legal, and some states are thinking about blocking it.
Yeah, and that's a great question. I don't really understand the state's thought on something like that. You know, from what the early research is suggesting that it's 2/3 the Delta 8's about 2/3 as potent as like a Delta 9, and that's kind of what we're seeing from most of our experienced users as well. So the fact that you have something that, you know, isn't as potent, it's less likely to cause things like paranoia and hallucination. Why would you want to block something like that that can lead to some of these life-changing effects that Bill was just referencing? You know, that's something that we fight every day, and you know, we're not real sure who to take that up with.
And especially in a country where alcohol and tobacco is legal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is actually dopey, like how they do, right? It's dopey. Like these politicians are dopey. They're like, oh yeah, we can't have that Delta 8 out there, but tobacco and alcohol, that's okay. Destroy your liver, die of cancer, no problem. We're behind you on that. But don't take Delta 8. It's like, it's so disingenuous. It's so stupid that it's baffling. And that's why I feel like it's driven by corruption. There's payoffs happening. There's people, we know for a fact that one company put a lot of pressure on Kratom. And that was the company that manufactured and sold OxyContin. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Because people were turning to Kratom instead of OxyContin. So their sales collapsed.
Absolutely.
You know, and so they said to the government, hey, you can't do this. You know, we're the most addictive drug out there, and you can't keep our people from buying or getting prescriptions for this stuff.
It's sad that you talk about the corruption in the same, and then in the very next sentence, you went right into OxyContin. You know, I think if you talk to anybody, you could clearly see we are in an opioid epidemic where people are trying to find new ways to get better sleep, to get pain relief, to get stress relief. You know, I don't see a Facebook page that I don't see a day go by where someone doesn't ask for a post of looking for help or looking for something mental. You know, they're going through something. They just need to lighten their load a little bit. And if there's something that you could take that could, you know, get you in a calmer state, help you sleep better. I mean, you said it to Bill, and I don't think, I kind of wanted you to say it louder for the people in the back. Bad sleep will kill you. No sleep will kill you. And people don't understand how important it is for your body to rest and recover. And when you can take something that is safe, that is non-addictive, get better sleep, get less stress, why would that be a problem for a government agency? I don't understand.
So Malcolm Jelani says, all this shit just gets you high. Let's stop bullshitting. No, you're wrong. I don't take it to get high. I take it to improve my sleep. If it got me high, I wouldn't take it because I can get weed if I want to get high. So no, you're wrong on this one. I mean, I guess you. Okay, we gonna say?
I was just gonna say we would disagree 100% with Malcolm. This isn't about trying to get you high, and this is literally about. The point that we want to get to is more of when you start talking about the athletes and the performers and getting into, and you've talked about it on your show before, but the flow state where we can really zone in and focus. I'm a video game person, you know, whatever, make fun of me or not, but when I'm doing things that I know very, very well, and I take a half a gummy, it just puts me in a place where I block out all the other noise and I can really crush whatever I'm doing, whether that be a workout, whether that be video games and pressing A or B or shoot at the right time or the wrong time. My biggest one that I was talking to a friend of mine was a bent over rear delt fly. For whatever reason, I could not get that in my mind. And I felt like I was bending over. I'll try to show it on camera a little bit, but I was bending over, just shrugging that stuff up. And that's not the move.
Right.
But my most recent workout called for that. And I had my Delta 8 in my system, and I could just feel the squeeze right in the middle of my back. I felt like I was, crushing a soda can back there. And that's the only thing I can attribute to that was different.
When I would squat and deadlift back in the day, and because the weights I was handling were dangerous weights that where you could injure you, and I did. Everybody knows I've injured myself so many times. It's stupid. But one of the things I used to talk about is the noise in your head. When you get that bar on your back and you're walking it back and you're getting ready to squat, there's all this distracting noise in your head. Your thoughts are like just going 1,000 miles an hour. And being able to take that noise and suppress it so you can be focused, as you're going down and as you're coming up, and you want to make sure everything is going right. You can't be focused if you have all this noise in your head. And I noticed that it does that to me in the evening. My brain is racing all day long. I take that thing at 7:30, like clockwork. And by the time I get in bed at 9 o'clock, I just have this calm, this peaceful, calm feeling. It's not like I feel high. I'm not high. If I had to run to the store or a cop pulled me over, I wouldn't display any outward observable things that would say, oh, this guy's stoned out of his mind. It just takes the edge off. It's all it does. It just makes me ready for sleep. That's all it does.
And the last thing I would say to Malcolm's point would definitely be around dosing. Again, we are firm believers in the start low and go slow method. You have to get the right dose. You even stated, when you went crazy and took 2, it was a little much for you. You didn't like what that did.
But I felt happy. I actually thought I should get up and watch TV. Like, I would never have that thought in the middle of the night. But it was too much. And that's the other thing, the dose, right?
Yeah,
if you're taking one and a half, you're taking a half, you're taking one gummy, 25 milligrams, you're not getting stoned from it. You're just not. No.
And if that's what you're looking for, we're not the product for you. That's not what we're here to do. That's not it.
So talk about Delta 8, your product. Where do you source the hemp from? Talk about the quality of the product for a second.
So it is. So we do source the highest grade quality Delta 8. We actually measure our raw materials as well to understand. Most people don't understand you can't get 100% Delta 8. So each batch, we do vary how much we add to our
based
gummies
on the potency of the raw material.
Of the raw material, exactly. And
I bet you most companies don't do that, and that's why you have varying degrees of effect.
100%. Yeah. So if you get something that's maybe 70% Delta 8 and 30% moisture, but then the next time you get it and it's 90% Delta 8 and 10% moisture, you're obviously going to have varied results. Well, we test for stuff like that, and we make sure that when we do put this in our nano emulsification and we blend it into the gummy mix, that we're making the correct dosage so that you can have a reliable, consistent product. Each experience, each gummy, not even each pack, each gummy, as opposed to just, varied degrees, either pack to pack or even gummy to gummy from some companies. And like you said,
I just want to put this up for a second. And that is, if people want to learn more about Knoll Creek Delta 8, I'll just put this up real quick. If you go to shrnetwork.biz/Delta8, DELTA and the number 8. And if you use the code SHR20, you'll save 20% off. Everybody who's tried it in the audience raves about it. Everybody. And I've been doing shows where I just mention it and people like that stuff is the best. And it really is. Again, shrnetwork.biz/Delta, DELTA, and the number 8, Delta 8. And the code is SHR20 for 20% off. And I'll tell you something else that I learned from your company. The reorders are like ridiculous. Now think about this. You buy a product and you try it, and it sucks. Do you reorder it just because you like the show? No, of course not, right? So the reorders are solid. People are reordering it because it works. My friend Bill, I think the last order he placed was like 4 or 5 bags because he doesn't want to be without it. He doesn't want. Talk to me about the new flavors. Passion fruit has limonene in it. Isn't limonene an agent that helps absorption?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's something that, research is suggesting that's going to help elevate your mood. So again, talking about when you took a little too much and got extra happy when you go watch TV, it's going to be something that's going to elevate mood. It's going to help with the delta 8 absorption. It's going to add in stress relief. That's what the research is showing currently. Also being an antifungal and antibacterial, we're really focused on making sure that we put out the best quality products in the market. Not just something to get you high. That's not what we're looking for.
So the new flavor is passion fruit. The pineapple is unbelievable, fantastic. I love the pineapple. What other fruit flavors are there?
So there's peach as well. So peach and pineapple, and then the new passion fruit that's coming out as well.
And then you have a liquid shot coming. Is that right?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a 2-ounce shot.
Why do you need a liquid shot? Is it going to hit me faster?
So it's just going to allow us to do different things. How people like to dose it differently. We're going to do a mixed berry flavor. We're going to have a 25 milligram that's a standard regular strength, as well as a 50 milligram extra strength, just giving people options. Again, like I said, I like to mix it into my pre-workout so that I can get it at the same time. And that was kind of what I want is something I can mix up with my pre-workout, take one shake. And I usually take mine somewhere between 45 minutes to an hour before I hit the gym. I've got a 20-minute drive, so I whip up my pre-workout, smash it, and then get ready, get dressed, get my bag ready, and hit the gym about 20 minutes later, and I'm ready to go.
So if you've never tried it and you order it, what I would suggest you do, anytime you use a cleaning product, it says test it on an area that no one can see, just in case it doesn't work. This is the same. You start out with a quarter. I take the gummy, I cut it with a knife.
Mm-hmm.
Start out with a quarter, see what that does for you. Go to a half, see what that does for you. If you are an avid cannabis user, you're not going to feel it as quickly. It's just the way it is. Because I've been an avid cannabis user since I was a kid. I mean, I take periods of time off. I took off for the better part of 18 years when I had children because I didn't want to smoke pot with kids. But then when I reintroduced it, I noticed that I needed more to really get high. And so this is the same thing. If you are an avid cannabis user, you may need a little bit more, but start out with a quarter anyway and dial in your dose because you'll find the anxiety or pre-workout dose, and then you'll find the sleep dose. And those are the two doses you want to know about.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I would even say as low as an 8th, if you're talking about pre-workout, no cannabis experience, that's where I started. And it didn't do much for me. And I've worked my way up all the way between a quarter and a half, depending on how I'm feeling that particular day. And, it's one of my, like I said, my two preferred uses are after travel. Once I get home from the car, if we were out, we've got family about 3 hours away, and we always leave way too late and get home Sunday night, and I can't get to sleep. I'm wired. I'm ready to go. Sure. And so I'll take one and I'll start unloading the car, and I'll put the kids to bed, and then I start, like you said, feeling ready for bed. Not put me to sleep, not drowsy.
Right. Yeah, not going to sedate. It doesn't sedate you.
It's not yeah, exactly.
So
exactly.
You would say an 8th. This is where the liquid will be handier. You're right.
Yeah. So for me,
for pre-workout.
An 8th for pre-workout, absolutely. When you start getting into that performance, and again, I feel like that's a whole topic we could go in and spend hours on. Is what performance athletes are doing. We've heard about the Olympic runner that was disqualified. We've heard of NFL players that do it. It's all about getting that.
Oh, was she using Delta 8? Is that what she was using?
I think she was full on cannabis is what she was using, but there's a reason they're going to that, and I firmly believe that with all these athletes, it's more than just a high for them as well. What are they using it for? Is it some type of secret, is that a secret ingredient that we don't know about as far as getting our mind and muscle connected to run faster, jump higher? I mean, we're out here to train for a reason. For me, I want to be a stronger human. I want to run faster. I want to take care of my body. I want to be able to play with my kids in 10 years. So I take it to perform well in the gym.
There's another area that it may be helpful, and it just dawned on me. And I'm talking about a low dose, like an 8th or a 3rd. There's emerging research about erectile dysfunction. So Men who have full-on erections at night, right? Your penis runs maintenance at night while you're sleeping, and it's called nocturnal tumescent erections. And the reason your body does this is it engorges the penis with blood, and it makes sure that the penis is working for its job. These same guys can get full-on erect penises at night while they're sleeping, or even early in the morning when they're waking up. But then when they go to engage in sex, they end up with their penis dropping out on them. And there's emerging research showing the role of anxiety on a different form of erectile dysfunction. This is where the machinery works, but for some reason you have performance anxiety. You're worried. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's happened once before. You're freaking out. And so you're like, man, I hope it doesn't happen. And when you start thinking that way, boom, it happens. This could be beneficial in the bedroom. If you're one of those guys who, your heart starts to race right before sex, you get a little bit anxious for whatever reason it is. Maybe your wife is so hot you've never become accustomed to being with a woman that beautiful. Could be. I mean, I'm going to be honest. I mean, when I see Elisa naked, I feel like I'm living with a Playboy bunny. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe that she's with me. But the point is, if you are one of these guys who suspects that your erectile dysfunction is not because of the machinery, but instead because of your anxiety, take an eighth, take a third. It's not going to hurt you. If anything, it's just going to take the edge off and make you feel like, hey, yeah, I'm good. I can roll with it.
I mean, I've heard from friends that have used it for that specific reason, that sometimes it's a joke that we use, right? About, men think it's a race and we're not going to lose kind of mentality, right?
Right.
Well, in a lot of cases, it just takes women to get to the same place as it does a man for like you said, multiple reasons. But for a lot of men, that does build up anxiety. And I have several friends that, like you said, they've taken, for them, they took a quarter and they love their results on it. They love not only the big finish at the end, they really enjoyed that, but it did help them stay longer and achieve climax with their partner as well. So what that is, I mean, again, whether that's an anxiety thing, I think a lot of it is attributed to anxiety. Again, not wanting to disappoint your partner, not wanting to finish first. Whereas when you can eliminate that anxiety and it just happens a lot more natural, I think it's better for everybody, because then you're more engaged. You're not thinking about, I don't want to go too soon. You're just able to be in the moment a lot better, in my opinion. That's the feedback that we've received so far. We haven't done a whole lot of that, but that's the feedback we have.
So we have the most politically incorrect audience in the world. Dean Paulson says maybe they're gay or just get a hotter chick. So there you go. We're not all handsome like you, Dean. Sometimes I got lucky. I don't understand what she sees in me, but I'm happy she sees something in me. All right, so one more time. We're going to put this up one more time. So if you want to check out Knoll Creek Delta 8, go to shrnetwork.biz/Delta8, and that's DELTA and the number 8. Use the code SHR20. Look, I don't care how good you think you sleep. You may find out that you sleep a lot better than you ever thought you could. My friend Bill Mitchell has been struggling with his sleep ever since I know him because of his job as a pilot. And he told me when he first started using it, I couldn't believe I slept until 8 o'clock. I slept until 7 o'clock. And it's like, it was like right from the very, very first dose. And now he's weeks and months into it. And I see changes in his attitude. I see changes in his how often he laughs, how he deals with stress. It's because he's getting good sleep. It's not because of the Delta 8 itself. The intrinsic effect of Delta 8 is it makes you rock your sleep. The extrinsic effect is, you take it and you could also take the edge off if you're not sleeping. I see the greatest benefit of Delta 8 being sleep. Really. Anybody who's not getting good sleep, you desperately need it. Is Delta 8 an anti-inflammatory? Is there any evidence of that?
I'm not sure what the research has pointed to that, but everything that I've experienced is yes, it's an anti-inflammatory. People have said that it aids in recovery for post workouts. So people that sleep with it tend to recover from their workouts faster. I've noticed it more for me in legs. If I do a really intense leg day, like what you were talking about earlier, Carl, with squatting heavy, or when I incorporate deadlift and squat in the same day, which I'm not the biggest fan of doing that, but there are days where I do that. And I've noticed that for me, I walk better. I tend to have less of the, DOMS or, however people want to term it as, delayed onset muscle soreness. For me, I've had less of that when I've gone home and I've had a Delta 8 pre-workout and then I use it to sleep that night. I love it if I don't put it in my pre-workout. When you talk about sleep, I love it to cut the edge off if you have a late night workout. Some people, take pre-workout at 7, 8 o'clock at night, and you get revved up. You get done at the gym at 9, 10 o'clock at night. How are you going to go to sleep? You've got, who knows how much caffeine in your system.
Well, and not only that, even
extract.
if you do get to sleep, you don't sleep well. You see, if you track your sleep like I do, it's the same thing as alcohol. If I train late at night, I don't sleep deep. I'm like all over the
100%. Yeah. 100%.
Check it out, shrnetwork.biz/delta8, DELTA, and the number 8. Use the code SHR20 to save 20% off. I'm going to make you a promise. For those of you who just want better sleep, you will never use anything else once you use this product. And I think that's really, in my opinion, the most valuable. I'm going to try taking a third before working out tomorrow morning and see what happens.
Yeah, let us know. We'd love to hear your feedback and understand, what your thoughts on it are.
Yeah. Thanks for being here, Nate.
Oh yeah, we appreciate it, Carl. We love the show. We love what you guys do for us. So keep up the great work.
Thanks, brother. Talk to you soon. All right, so that's it for today's show. And we have good shows. So, also, we were going to do a casual Friday this week, but we're moving it to Monday because Friday I have a bunch of stuff to take care of. That's kind of a deadline. So there will be a casual Friday, but it won't be this Friday. It'll be casual Friday on Monday next week. So hope you can tune in then. And thank you for watching today. And thank you for your beautiful questions and comments. And you can see I put everything up, no matter what it is. I'm not a self-serving host. I don't just put up stuff that endorses products. My listeners are the most important thing to me. And that's the bottom line. But I will ask you to share the show. Always share shows, even if you don't think people are going to like it, because you never know whose life you can change. Like this interview right here. You could share this show with a few of your friends, and you don't even know one of them is having trouble sleeping, and they'll give the Delta 8 from Knoll Creek a try. And next thing you know, they're going to live longer if they sleep better. I can honestly say that unabashedly. If you sleep better, you will live longer. Okay. See everyone tomorrow with more Superhuman Radio, and thank you for being here.